Yeah, that's that motherfucking word. I am doing this simultaneously while on call with Blue Mama. So yeah. Um, welcome to the Toon Talk, where anime meets psychology, pride meets a little pain, and where stories help us unpack real life. Now tonight, today, this evening, we are talking about the shit that makes us. You know, hold on, y'all. I love you. Yeah, man. All right. All right. Now, this is where shit gets kind of weird. Today we're talking about Vegeta. From DBZ. And for once, it's not about power levels. Um, it's not about a Super Saiyan form. This is more so about inferiority. Trauma, oppression, identity, and what happens when pride shifts and becomes survival. Um, First of all, as we all know, he was a prince raised in subjugation. Vegeta was born royalty. His dad ran the whole shebang. Um, he was the prince of all saints, and that's a hell of a role to have. Um, he was raised and believed his race was superior than any. And as we all know, then came Frieza. Frieza then destroys planet Vegeta, erases an entire civilization, and in turn forces the surviving Saiyans into service. So Vegeta goes from royalty to now to servant. He's growing up fighting wars for the exact being who committed genocide against his people. And that's not just his villain origin story. That's also his trauma psychology. And at some point, trauma turns into identity. Um, when power is stripped and taken from you, what is there to cling to? For Vegeta, it was pride. And you always heard him saying, and throughout the fucking series, I am the Prince of all Saiyans. And he clung to that over and over again. Because when everything else was and is stripped away, your identity becomes like oxygen. Now, here's where I gotta trade kind of carefully with this shit. There are thematic parallels between Vegeta's fictional enslavement and real world systems of oppression, including black slavery in the Atlantic world. Um, Enslaved Africans were kidnapped from their homeland, stripped of their language and culture, and also forced to build wealth for their oppressors. Also labeled inferior by law. So this shit ain't really a metaphor. It's more so like a historical atrocity. Um, and that lets you know that on a deeper level, Vegeta's story is symbolic. Um, Black slavery was, and forever will be real. Generational trauma. Um, but psychologically, both tend to raise the same question in my eyes. What happens to a people or a person when their identity is attacked? And that led me to this. Vegeta ultimately surviving or serving the oppressor. Uh, Vegeta fights for Frieza. Now, really process that whole situation. Um, you're you're once on top, now you're on bottom. Pause. But now you're forced to use your strength to benefit the system that once destroyed you and your culture and your race and everything you knew. So then in turn, that dynamic creates rage without any sense of autonomy, strength without a sense of ownership, and power without freedom. In history, enslaved people resisted in countless ways. Rebellions, escape networks, Underground Railroad, spiritual preservation, coded songs, literacy, and what we need to do now, community building. Resistance is a form of survival. But unlike Vegeta, enslaved people did not have superhuman power to fight back in open combat. The imbalance was systematic, legal, and generational. And that difference played a part. We do not collapse real suffering into anime. We learn from symbolic parallels without minimizing the history of that parallel. Now, here comes what I feel is the inferiority complex. Now, after all this situation with Frieza and what have you, the one and only Goku enters the picture, right? And if you're going by their system, Goku was a low class Saiyan. Someone Vegeta was raised to see as beneath him, inferior, or beneath. But at a certain point in time, Goku surpasses Vegeta and never looks back. And suddenly, Vegeta is no longer oppressed by Frieza. He's oppressed by comparison. And that right there is the shift. When someone's identity is built on superiority, being second feels like a total annihilation. Oppression doesn't just damage the oppressed, it distorts how they measure their worth, like we do, in a way. Um, it distorts the field of view, basically, of how you view yourself. Vegeta internalizes the hierarchy, takes it to heart, lives, breathes, and dies for it, right? But then he ultimately becomes obsessed with ranking because that's how he was conditioned to see value in people and himself. And systems of racial oppression did the exact same thing. They built entire societies on hierarchy, convincing some they were superior, others they were inferior. And that type of poison doesn't just disappear overnight. It lingers in generational psyche. Sometimes with that being said, with it lingering in the said psyche, um, it brings me to the Majin Vegeta saga. or self-destruction as control. When Vegeta allows himself to become Majin Vegeta, he says he wants to return to who he used to be. And in turn, by wanting to return to whom he used to be, what Vegeta really wants is control. And that's really all Vegeta ever clung to, really, was his control. And sometimes trauma survivors sometimes recreate pain because it feels familiar. If I choose the darkness, at least I'm choosing. If I destroy, at least I'm not powerless. And sadly, a lot of us see that mindset as right, and that's just wounded pride. Um, Now, here's the evolution in the whole shebang. Now, when we remember that Vegeta ultimately sacrifices himself for his family, he then breaks the hierarchy mindset. He then chooses love over dominance, protection over his pride. And that's a view or a piece of Vegeta actually trying to heal. Now, it came a point to where Vegeta was rewriting his own identity. So by the time we go through Dragon Ball Z, GT, XYZ, by the time we get to Super, Vegeta ultimately has an identity shift and a change. He stops chasing Goku's shadow. Now he's not training to show if he's inferior or superior to Goku. He's training for his own self-mastery, his own family, his own growth. And that's the psychological pivot point. It goes from I must prove I'm superior to I must become better than I was. And that shift right there in itself mirrors something powerful in real history. After centuries of oppression, Black communities didn't just survive. We created cultural movements, civil rights revolutions, artistic renaissances, spiritual frameworks, intellectual leadership, and after a while, our identities started to be reclaimed. Identity was reclaimed. And it wasn't through superiority, it was through resilience, through excellence, and through redefining worth outside of the system that tried to define it for us. Um, Vegeta's taught us inferiority is not weakness. It's just what happens when identity is tied to comparison. And in the day and age now where we live in, where comparison is everywhere, um, it kind of makes you think. You know what I'm saying? Are we tying our identities to the comparisons that we make to other people? Followers, pictures, places, whatever, you feel me? Or we in turn doing that to ourselves? Oppression, whether fictional or historical, always attacks the identity first. Healing begins when your identity is reclaimed on your own terms. But also, let's be clear about this point. Anime gives us symbols. Yes, anime gives us symbols. Also, history gives us a responsibility. We use one to understand the emotion, and we use the other to understand and honor the other with the truth. For anyone out there, if you ever felt second, if you ever felt like this system, like many others, were built against you, if pride was the only thing keeping you from being upright and walking the right path that you need. You're not crazy. You're ultimately adapting. But your personal evolution or any evolution doesn't happen through just pure domination or superiority. It happens through self-definition. The same prince didn't become powerful when he beat Goku, if you can say he did. He became powerful when he stopped letting hierarchy and comparison define him. When he found his own reason, his own way, that's the day that he let go of the hierarchy and the comparisons. This tonight was a short and easy breezy V-Day Toon Talk. I would like to say happy anniversary to Shidoria. This is the latest anniversary. 13th year. Our lucky year. So I just want to say thank you for everything you've done thus far. Putting up with my shit. Giving me cuddles and sleeps and shit. And being there. Those days I feel like I don't have any. No matter how true or not true that may be. Thanks for sticking it out with me. Thank you for my beautiful surprise. Just thank you for you. And all that you do to make our household run smoothly and it not go up in flames. I am grateful, have immense gratitude for the woman God has placed in my life to challenge me to be better. I noticed that in my life, I was always kind of let off the hook. I'll say that. Whether it was football, whether it was just in life, sometimes I didn't get my full, you know what I'm saying? But I can say with her, she don't let me off the hook. Like, she don't give a fuck about none of that shit. Like, she don't give a fuck about how many followers I have. Don't give a fuck about what I did in football. Don't give a fuck what I did in powerlifting, track, none of that shit. For her, is the person I am now. And the man I am now. You feel what I'm saying? And that's a humbling experience to go through because she's ultimately letting me know, like, I love you. I never gave a fuck about none of that other shit. Like, I've always loved you, and that's what keeps me going is you. It's not these goddamn stories. It's not these goddamn videos. It's not the beats. It's none of that shit. It's just me. So I appreciate that, and I think about that a lot. So shout out to Shidoria. She's on the goddamn clock, going probably a mile a minute right now, trying to do shit. But just want to say thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being my Nefertari. Thank you for 13 years of growth, realizations, accountability. Just a journey, to be honest with you. A journey that is well worth the ticket, if that makes sense. It's some shit that I know you don't do it. It's just like most things that you choose to do in life. You don't do it if you don't love it. You feel what I'm saying? Like, no matter how it seems, looks, like, even for sports, like, you're not going to get up at 5 a.m. to go work out if you don't love it. So, that in turn is the work you put into your marriage, into your life. Like, you love that shit so much, you got to put it in work. Even though some days you're going to fall short. Even some days you don't feel like doing it. You still love it that much to still do it, even on them days. Some people call it discipline. I call it love of the game. All in all, I just thank you for it all. For meeting 19-year-old me to 34-year-old me. Thank you for this ride, this journey. The ways you test me to be better and allow me to be better, call me to be better. Thank you for that. Thank you for making me learn who the fuck I am outside of what people think. So just thank you for that. And thank you for being my wife. And thank you for putting up with my shit. So yeah. If you see this, yeah, thank you. And see you when you get home. Everybody else, I hope y'all got y'all somebody to snuggle with. Hope y'all ain't creeping out the side chick house right now. Goddamn me, or your side nigga house. It's about 3 of them in the morning. So yeah, I hope you're doing something with yours, not somebody else's. You feel what I'm saying? Hope y'all enjoyed y'all Valentine's Day. Hope y'all made the best of it. Y'all be safe. Wear a fucking rubber. Don't be no goofy. You feel me? Wear a Jimmy. God damn it. Protect yourself at all costs. I am Squish Arcana. This is the Toon Talk, where anime meets psychology, where trauma meets transformation, and where we all evolve. Stay royal, stay loyal. Peace and air grease. I'm out.